Varsha, did you see the last week's interview that we did with a couple from Dubai? Oh, Vani, did it go out? Oh, okay. Sorry. Hi, guys. How are you? Great to see you online. I have to talk for 2 to 3 minutes till we get the crowd going and till Instagram gets all the logistics working. But meantime, let me talk to you about the book that we are launching. The book is called IXL Wired for Success. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a textbook. It's not a book that was just written for the sake of writing. It's basically 25 years of work experience in coaching and developing individuals here in India from all echelons of life, primarily from the corporate arena, from the business arena, from entrepreneurs. So the coaching went across all bandwidth. Now, our main primary focus had been with corporates, and I must admit, when I first came to India, I had no connections with anybody. So I did what I call a road show from Amritsar all the way down to the eastern coast of Australia, through the eastern coast of India, down through the western coast, and went into every city talking in Rotary clubs. And that's the story you will hear in that book. And through that process, what's happened was very simple. I was able to actually capsule a lot of my connections with Rotary and developed a portfolio of about 50 to 55 clients in the corporate arena, ranging from IT industry, the banking industry, the finance industry, mining industry, hospitality, you name it. There are people that I had gone through and worked with and coached and trained, and some of them were CEOs, some of them were top echelon managers, senior VPs. And as that was happening, obviously the Rotary clubs had a lot of connections in the entrepreneurial and business environment. And that too was where I worked and started developing individuals. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile or any of the other profiles that is online, all you got to do is type DAVIDNAIR on Google. That's GOOGLE, and guess what happens? Outspits the whole thing. Now from there, you can then get my connections into what you want to look for. That is how I capsuled the book. The book is 25 years of coaching experience that covers every aspect of an individual's need to become productive, effective, holistic, wholesome person. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is not just a book on, okay, let me build confidence, let me build how do I present myself. No, it's a book on developing and building you as an individual. In that book, one of the key things that I made sure I put in there was what I call my 10 minutes. Not mine, your. My 10 minutes is the title of the segment. Through every section that you go through as you read, it's more of a workbook. You sit down and you do a lot of introspection on my 10 minutes, which means, let's say yesterday I did a talk on hung by your tongue. And that's a topic I wrote in that book, where most people don't realize what they say. They just spit out, they verbalize things without even realizing consciously whether it's going to be abusive to the person that they're talking or not. Now, that's in the book. And at the end of that segment, there is a section called My 10 Minutes. And guess what that My 10 Minutes is? That My 10 Minutes gets you to introspect and gets you with a number of questions to answer that segment. And through that process, guess what? You then sharpen that skill. And this is why I'm saying this book is a book that you read through for the next 90 days doing a workshop of your own. Initially, you can skim through the book for a week or so, but then I would seriously suggest you go through that book and look at individual segments that you want to master in. That's why the book is called IXL. IXL, Wired for Success, which is working on your brain, working on your neuroplasticity, and then on top of it, it's basically a blueprint for personal excellence. That's a summation of that book. It covers a whole string of topics. There is, I think if you just type your details onto my website, and you'll be able to then collect a e-copy of, not an e-copy of the whole book, but one chapter of it. and that will help you, digest some of the things I'm talking about. But as part of that, every week on a Saturday, I'm doing what I call Read with David Nair. We're taking a segment of the book and we're reading and analyzing it. Like last night or yesterday evening, we did a segment called Hung by a Tongue. Okay? Now, and then as part of that, on a Sunday, what I do is I actually have been involved with a lot of couples, a lot of individuals. When I coach people, I get to know their spouses, and so I get to interact with a lot of them. So I'm bringing aboard couples, not individuals. I'm bringing aboard couples on a Sunday evening. Last week or the week before, I can't recall, we had a couple from Dubai. And this week we have the honor of having a couple here from Chennai, Varsha and Manish. Varsha, I rewind the video. Varsha is a person that I've known for about 8 to 9 years. And Manish is a person I met through Varsha subsequent to when they got married. Okay, now both of them are powerful individuals on their own. They're very well centered because I know them and I've been working with them in the past and also of recent times. Now, Varsha, as a holistic coach for youth and for kids, she spends a lot of time on self-development. She spent a lot of time, I recall, in the early days when we were interacting, on her own personal self-development, and we steered a few things right there. Coupled with that, Varsha is also a coach, and she also contributes her services to Life Be In It, which is an organization that promotes and helps people with coming up in their meditative skills and coming up in the wellness industry. Manish, on the other hand, is a chartered accountant. Another one of those accountants floating around. Now, he's a genuine accountant. He's not one of those guys, the Mickey Mouse accountants. He's a real good accountant, fantastic, down-to-earth individual. So I'm going to actually open the channel for me to have a discussion with them. I would like to sort of introduce them into what we're going to do as I journey through this next 30 minutes with them. Now, I have to find out how I get them online. I am a little bit still not savvy with the system. Are you there? Hello? Let me see. I think they're coming online. Yes, we have them. See, technology, I have mastered it. I've got a PhD in technology. Hi, Manish. Hi, Varsha. How are you guys?
Hi, David. Top of the world.
Excellent.
Very good. How are you, David?
I'm great. I'm really good. Thank you so much. I am actually having a lot of challenge in trying to maneuver through technology. And I've got a great couple in John and Barney to work me through this. Now, I've got you guys online. Before I go down the path, what I'd like to do is I just want to spend probably 30 to 60 seconds, Varsha, for you and Manish, just to self-introduce yourself. I did an introduction, but I want to get you to self-introduce yourself because I'm sure I've lost out a lot of things that you actually are empowered with. So can you share that, please?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Varsha. I work as an EQ coach and life skills coach for children. And I also take art of living meditation and stress relief programs for adults. That's pretty much what I do. I take care of my house, the responsibilities at home. And I'm married to Manish for the past 5 years. So,
Has it been 5 years? Oh my
Yes.
God.
We're touching 6. We're touching 6 in February.
Oh, he's counting.
You introduced me as an accountant, so yeah. So
Right.
I'm Manish. I'm a chartered accountant by practice. I have my own practicing firm in Chennai. And I've been practicing for more than 5 years now. Happily married to this lovely woman who's on my left. And I love playing. I love sports. I love adventure activities. I love working as well. That's my favorite hobby, in fact. And yeah, that's about it.
Excellent, excellent. Hey guys, knowing that now we've walked through and gone into what I call the marathon of the pandemic, and we are already in phase one, which is a 10-kilometer of the 40-kilometer race, okay? And many people have already started talking about mental resilience and saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to cope and things like that. As the pandemic started, around April, I did an interview with 68 people around the globe just to get a taste of, and I think you were one of them also, just to get a taste of what was happening to the pandemic and how it was impacting them. Now, we have journeyed 8 months. Can you share that 8 months experience all in a nutshell? What's happened to you? How are you coping with it? How are things at home? Things like that. You can censor some of those items, okay?
Yeah, sure, David. So initially it was very difficult, like March and April, I was feeling lost, not knowing what to do, where to start. So Manish would say explore online options, the whole world is opening up now. You can do a lot of things sitting at home. But still, I think I took some time to accept the whole situation. I was missing going to school, teaching children and, working one-on-one on them. But yeah, I took 2-3 months, and then when it started, it has been a really great experience so far, because now not just, the city, but the whole world is opened up. So I'm able to take classes to US, Singapore, Australia.
Wow.
We have started sitting just, at home. And it's been great for me. Thank God. I'm very fortunate that way, that this pandemic has helped me expand my boundaries. And at home, luckily, all of us have some spiritual rooting, so we haven't been too hard on each other. It's been quite some time. We've been playing together, spending some good time, which we usually don't get. Yeah, we're running the race. All of us are. So we do a lot of time for self-reflection. Then, as a family, we would all get together. We live in a row of houses. We have a row of houses we share with our cousins and everyone. So got to really know each other much more and play some games and have fun. So that way, it's been good so far. But we would really looking forward for all this madness to end, because there's a lot of panic and anxiety in the whole atmosphere. So yeah.
Right. Manish, what's your perspective? What's your take on it?
I've enjoyed this phase for a change. I've enjoyed this phase. I came into terms more easily because I was expecting such things may happen, and it was easier for me to accept and move forward. And for me, it didn't make much of a difference because there's a bag and there's a laptop inside, and that's my office. That's how I introduce myself. So that's our office, and we work from anywhere. We can sit it from the washroom and work from the bedroom or from the living room. So wherever we want, we can work. So work-wise, it wasn't much of a change. But yeah, initially a couple of months was a challenge in interacting with the clients, and because everybody was not having the data with them to help them out. So we were taking a break. It was a very slow phase. That's when I explored what is it like being in the home, like what my mom has been for the last 35 odd years. So it was nice. I was learning to cook. I was learning to wash dishes again. I was doing all these sort of things. So it was nice. And as Varsha pointed out, since both of us are individually aligned to a spiritual path, it was more easier for us, and we didn't take things very to the mind. It wasn't affecting us that way, like what we've been hearing and listening to people, and the frustration boiling up and everything. But gratefully, from divine grace, and we've not faced that challenge, touch wood. So yeah.
Right. You're talking about being spiritually inclined, and now knowing your community, which is a very social-driven community. How do you think this has impacted you guys? Because now outings are out, the big weddings are out, 3, 4, 5,000 people weddings are out. How are you coping with it?
We've not attended a wedding from after pandemic, so we don't know how it is. So once we attend a wedding, we'll come to terms in that manner as well. So yeah. But it's been very different. At least gatherings are not there. It's obviously the flip side of all this. But gatherings are not there. We've not met our friends properly for like months now, and yeah, that's kind of affecting us in a way. But I think it's we're just shaping it up. So yeah.
Right.
I
Sorry, go on.
No, I feel that this is a blessing in disguise because I generally don't enjoy social gatherings as such, except for my close circle. So, which is happening anyway. We make sure that we take precautions whenever we go and meet people out. But apart from that, huge gatherings, anyway, it was never a very pleasurable experience for me. So, you can't have heart-to-heart connection in such huge places. So, that's what I meant.
Right. You were not working at home. Both of you were working out prior to the pandemic, right? Now, and obviously you had probably about 6, 8, 10 hours of connect time at home after that. Now you're 24/7. Okay. I know you have, the spiritual aspect of, being serene. Plus, I also know you have games and things that you accommodate yourself and keep yourself active. But how has it really connected when it came to levels of tolerance? I can see the body movement, okay? And I'm reading it. And the levels to say, my God, give me a break. What's happening there? Can you share some of those experiences?
I think every day is we exceed our tolerance levels every day. We've been doing it for the last 6 years, so I think every day is a new challenge, and we've only been growing out of it. So, pandemic was obviously a very different experience.
Right.
Especially when we didn't have a maid in the initial few months. So it was pretty challenging because to do all the housework and then do our own stuff. But Manish really, me, my mother-in-law, Manish, we were like a team. So we would split up the work equally, and that made things very, very smooth for us. Otherwise,
sorry, go on, my dear. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Otherwise, one person taking up all the responsibility would have been a nightmare. But since it was a teamwork, we would, tell each other that you take a break, we'll do it now. We were actually fighting for work. Yeah, but everybody wanted to be occupied, to have that connect time. So we would all chip in, cook together, clean up together. So initially it was a little scary that how would we manage this for the going months. But after that, now do we have housemaid. But other challenges, tolerance-wise, David, as I told you, we have been as busy as we usually be. So even in the same house, he's in a different room, I'm in a different room. We meet only for lunch, dinner, and then close that family time after 7. So it has not made any big difference. But we definitely miss our travel, meeting up with my family, which is 6 hours away from this place. So all that I've really missed, going out, taking a break. So that's one thing that I've, that I really pray that all this ends soon so that we can go back to our usual life.
Right. I empathize. I really empathize because, when you talked about taking a break and going to Kumbakonam to your home and, not being able to connect, those type of things. I've been in this four walls, so to speak, as I was sharing with you for the last 8.5 months. And many have asked me to go out, go to their homes and stuff like that. I've always refrained from that, except for the last 2 weeks ago. An L&D head, vice president for one of the companies, telecommunication companies, sent me. He said, whether you like it or not, my driver will be there to pick you up at 5:30. and I took me to their home. I had dinner with them, beautiful family, like I always do. And then they drove me back. But the point is, it's amazing what the pandemic has done to shift our whole modus operandi, right, to what it is today.
But 8 months within 4 walls is impossible for, I think, human beings, normal human beings. You are a different level, David. I really can't imagine. We see videos, you're still smiling and inspiring people in spite of, just being homebound for 8 months. That's amazing.
The key element I keep telling is, I'm not sure if I shared this with you. I have also been approached by a number of companies to give them what I call vitamin boosters, okay? And because I have a responsibility. Each of us have got a responsibility, like in your home, your domain, and all. My responsibility is on my purpose, and most of you, and you know my definite major purpose. Now, for me to fulfill that, I cannot let this thing tweaker. So I had to doubly arm myself, and that's the only reason why I'm like that. And otherwise, I'll be down in this one of this depression states, which I try not to portray to people, and I clear it every day. I'm going to thank you for opening up the subject, because I'm going to reach into that area now. How are you coping with your normal rituals in addition to all of this? And I think you know what I'm referring to, the daily morning rituals and evening rituals that you go through. Are you still maintaining that?
Yes,
And if
definitely.
so, how?
Yeah, we begin our day with meditation and things to do for that day. So that has definitely. In fact, now we have a lot of time to revisit our goals and change what we have to change, and a lot of self-reflection is happening, and even our awareness levels have gone up because there are no distractions, right? Otherwise, we would go movies and go out for dinners.
Yeah.
So all that, since that has been cut down, there's a lot of self-reflection and awareness levels that have gone up. So yes, now we have all the more time to do our morning ritual, and now I'm also making sure that I take some time out in the evening also to do it, just to keep a check on. Yeah.
Fabulous. Very good. What about yourself, Manish?
One thing I would proudly say is even pre-March and post-March, my waking up time never changed. My alarm is still the same. It's at 5:06 and it's at 5:06, and it can be like about 7 or 8 days I have not got up on that time. In this last 8 months. So that's one thing I can be really proud of, that I have not changed my routine in terms of waking up time and my sleeping time, because everybody tends to play around with the routine, and then it tends to affect their work-life balance, or even their sleep or their health, anything. But at least that didn't change for me personally. The same, I would take care of my health in a way. There was time definitely for my spiritual practice. Then again, you get along with the work. Yeah, obviously the work home was a balance. Obviously, I was learning to be not a housewife, but yeah, getting to know that side of the thing as well. So I was even experiencing that, at least in the first couple of months. I was actively involved in the kitchen and the household work. So post that, yeah, we've again a little bit gone off to the routine. Only thing is we are bearing each other a little less now, because there's more work for each other as well. So, yeah.
Right. It's interesting you've referred that again about being more domesticated, so to speak. I want to address a point here. I recall in one of my coaching sessions in Kerala, there we had, as I think you would know, Varsha, whenever I do a coaching session, I actually get involved with the spouse who is not attending the coaching session, just to be familiar with them, and at the same time, they know what I'm going to work with their partner. Now, after 1 week, we had this dinner. After 1 week, this individual goes home. And for the first time, Manish, for the first time in his life, he gets up at 5 in the morning when his wife is in the kitchen, and he goes to her and he asks her, "Can I help you? Can I make coffee for you? Can I cut the onions for you?" And Susan picks up the call and she tells me, "David, what have you done to my husband?" And I said, "Why?" The next minute she says, "We've been married for 18 years and he's not done this."
That was a testimonial for you.
and I thought to myself, Manish, what went through my mind was when you started talking about, I'm domesticated, I'm doing all of this, and my mom, and I could just picture your mom saying, "Oh my God, my son, what's happened?"
That's so true.
Look at the finger going.
That's so true. She'll be like, "Why do you have to wake up early even now? You're working from home." And she would make sure that she's doing the dishes when he's not around.
Right.
But he said he would skip dinner. He doesn't let her do the work. So
certain things work with moms.
I know. Mothers are special, Mothers are special.
Always.
Oh dear. Okay, guys. Now filtering down from there, where do we actually look at realizing the pandemic, and as I said at the start, we are only at the 10-kilometer run of a 40-kilometer marathon. And it doesn't matter what anybody says, it's going to take at least another 8 to 12 months before we can see some good sunlight. There will be sunlight, but some good sunlight. How do you see yourself maneuvering through that?
Go first.
I haven't thought about it.
I think it's better we go with the flow. Nothing is pre-planned or fixed in such times. Even we never thought we were going to be facing such a thing, because I remember we had a holiday booked and we were about to leave on March 24th, which was the day the lockdown was announced.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think everything is uncertain, but yeah, I think you should be going with the flow. And anything is there, be like a chameleon or adapt yourself to the changing environment. Yeah.
Right. See, one of the things also, Manish, coming down to that, I drive in the book this aspect. Direction and purpose is vital, not important, it's vital. Now, I know there's this pandemic, and I keep telling people a lot, we've been coasting along, like what you were saying, coasting along, everybody is happy, jolly, until this pandemic came and it hit us. And then we stopped for a moment, and we're doing a lot of these reflective moments. Now, what's going to happen is, unless, and I'm not going to coach you here, but unless we gear ourselves to a certain extent, post-pandemic, it's going to be a situation where a lot has changed and we don't want to be left behind. So, food for thought. It's important to actually, as we spend the time reflecting and spending the time in the state, to actually look at, okay, downstream, what am I going to cope? How am I going to work? What am I going to do? And I'm not saying go and start doing rigid goals or plans, but unless we have some direction, we're going to be in a situation of just meandering, like the log meandering down the Ganga, and then 1 year later gets to the Bay of Bengal, and it says, where have I gone? Where have I been? And so it's food for thought. Some things that I tell a lot of people, make sure you do spend some time on that. Post-pandemic, the situation is going to be so totally different.
Definitely. So totally. I think we should start thinking in those lines. Yeah.
To look at what is the situation. We can't predict it, but at least if we're prepared some way, we know how to bounce back.
Correct.
Definitely.
And God willing, there's quite a lot of us who are quite comfortable. So, from a financial perspective, it's not a concern, but more from, I call it the resilience factor. In fact, I was talking to another associate of mine on last Tuesday, not this Tuesday, but last Tuesday. And she was saying to me, the concept of, I use the term mental resilience, and she opened my thinking. It is not just mental resilience, it's the resilience of both your body and your mind. Because they are two in sync. So though we might be saying, I need to boost up my mental resilience, we need to then also look at a body resilience build up. Because as Manish, you would know, if you have not been stretching certain muscles, being a sports person, that rigor mortis comes into play.
Perfect.
And when that rigor mortis comes into play, you go for a toss. Doesn't matter how good a tennis player you are.
Yes, exactly.
I think we are right now too much in our comfort zone. So as you said, there'll be a time then when we would again be lost. So not to waste, and it's better to have a thought about it right now. Yeah.
Some feedback, some things that you can look at. I also would like your suggestions. Are you still continuing certain aspects of your rituals like reading and productive habits? What are some of the productive habits that you're currently still put in place?
So yeah, reading is definitely there, and planning.
Stop on reading. How many books have you finished since the pandemic started?
I think I should move away from the screen now.
No, Manish, I'm coming to you. You stay there, pal.
He's been reading one book for 5 months. That is the longest any person has taken to read a book.
And that's the first time I've
No,
taken
no,
a
no,
book
no,
in decades to read.
please, Manish, what book was it? Was it the little booklet of 36 pages that I referred to, or something else?
I even forgot the name actually. It takes me a lot of time to read books. I mean, at least one thing I'm grateful for is at least I got back into one habit of reading books. So I used to read a count of 2 pages a day. It was maximum I could bear, in fact.
Right. Good.
I have been rereading what I've already read. So I do that quite a lot of times. So I haven't picked up anything new, but because there's no space, and I feel that rereading is very important. So I don't want to stack up more books right now, but finish what I've left incomplete.
Yeah, she takes away my cupboards and my space for her books, so I'm definitely a no-no for the books.
You mean to say she's taken over your wardrobe cupboard plus your book cupboard, is it?
I don't have any book cupboard. I never used to have, so she's taken my wardrobe cupboard and she's converting it into a bookshelf. So yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. My God. That is after the renovations, right? I mean, after the renovations.
After marriage.
Space is already gone in there.
Yeah, so what happened once we were married, she took, say, 10%. Then it increased to 20%. Then it's 50%. Now I think it should be about 70%. So yeah.
And mind you, this now in the pandemic, I hope it's not expanded even more.
No.
No shopping for you.
Glad the stores were closed, in fact. So.
Oh dear. Recite some of the book titles that you've gone through, Varsha.
So some of the books that I really love, Dale Carnegie, and then what other I read during this. I read a lot of spiritual books. So I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
And I'm reading a lot of books that have been written by Sri Ravi Shankar ji. I'm rereading them because they're so deep. Once or twice is not enough, at least for me. So I keep rereading them.
Have you gone through?
Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, referred by you.
Yeah.
Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So I remember you referred this book like 7 years back. This is one of the best books I've written. So I was in fact thinking to reread it. So that I would do that. I would do that very soon.
Right. Have you gone through the Conversations with God?
Not yet.
Series 1, 2, and 3. Something you might want to put up in your sleeve.
I've heard of this book.
Yeah, it's a powerful book because it steers you through to reflect on certain things outside of the normal box syndrome thinking.
Right.
Especially if you're into spiritual books like the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or the Bible. That's a perspective. I read all 3 of them, by the way, because I feel I need to get that perspective. Fundamentally, all spiritual books are identical in values and core systems. The only difference, I keep telling this to everybody, the only difference is religion is a man-made label.
Right.
We have created that. But if you look at the core values underlying all of this, it's the same. And that's why I push those books along. That's good. How are you going to then look at improving? Is there any area for improving your productive habits?
There are a lot of areas that way.
Name 3.
So
Not we. I don't want the royal we. I want the Varsha version. I'll ask him for the royal we.
So one thing is that I've not been working on my fitness. So I really used to enjoy outdoor walking and gymming, but that's not happening right now. So that Manish somehow manages to do it at home. He does it on his own, but I'm not that disciplined to do it on my own. But that's something that I want to get started right now. That's one. Other 2 things is I would definitely want to manage my time better. And the third thing is that I'm really not keeping in touch with people I know, my friends and family members. Because I really believe in, meeting them and then connecting, but that's just not possible for the next few months. And I feel that I'm going a little distant that way. So I really have to take time to build those relationships.
it doesn't have to be face to face, does it? Virtual connect also is there, right?
Virtual connect is what I'm talking about. I'm not very comfortable with virtual connect, but I don't have a choice right now. So I
Right.
just can't be sitting in my comfort zone and saying that, no, this is not going to happen. So that's something that I really need to work on.
Yeah, that's what I do. A lot of virtual connections here and there, people having dinner, or family and friends around the place, and people from South Africa, people from Dubai, people from Northern Europe, and they're bragging about their cooking, what they've done and what they've cooked. And I'm saying what you got to do is very simple: put it in a FedEx parcel and parcel it to this poor suffering Indian here. Oh dear me. That's good. That's good. Manish, yourself.
Productivity wise, there are always areas of improvement. There are always places where you can get better, and you have to get better with the changing times. Probably I was late to react. I think when the pandemic came, to why not take up something online. So it took me a lot of time to why not take some online crash course, or just a small online educative session or informative session. It took me time to do that, and once I got a hang of it, I pushed her to do it. In fact, she picked it up and I dropped it. That was one thing I should have continued a little longer, had a little more patience and perseverance probably. That was one thing I missed out. And another productivity line I should look at it is update myself a little more these changing times, in terms of even our the CA practice as well, in terms of our professional also. Get yourself updated with day-to-day activities and day-to-day updates a little more than what you would normally get, because it's like, otherwise it's like when you need to refer, you refer. But I would probably like to get more proactive in terms of getting updated as and when the updates have come. That's one thing I definitely have to do.
Right. That's one thing. It's great you pick that up on Varsha. I mean, that's one thing I observed about Varsha when I first met her. The discipline that she has in like a bulldog, going down certain things and not letting it go till it's completed. And I'm sure that
no comments.
I am not in match with his levels of discipline.
Oh, really?
I don't want to tell it in public forum, but something.
Why did you give up online? Why did you give up online? And she continued.
And work got over me. I mean, I was properly occupied with the work, so I just dropped it. And yeah, good. Glad enough she picked it up. She's helping a lot more people than what I would have. So yeah.
Slacko. Good. I wanted to come back to your work that you're doing. You said when you started doing this with kids in different countries, Varsha, how did that impact you with the cross culture? Now you're working with kids from Australia, Northern Europe, America. How did that impact you?
It's been quite amazing because as I always say, there's a lot to learn from kids rather than teaching them. I feel I am more of a receptive end, because the EQ level there is very different, especially in countries like USA, UK, and Australia. Singapore is pretty much India, but otherwise. So it's very different. The way we approach children is different. Yeah. There are certain things which we cannot tell them, like how we just joke around with Indian children. That's not, they take it offensively. So all that has been a good learning experience. But it's amazing how at the end it's all, they also want to have fun and learn at the same time. And it's nice to know that there are people who are ready to receive what we have to offer.
It's so true. It's so true, And the thing is, once you drop a little dye in the brain of the child or whoever it is, and allow that to spread out, expand out, it's amazing what happens. The neuroplasticity of your brain, the way it operates after that, in different dimensions. A week before last, I was talking to a doctor in the US. Now, she's not a doctor as a medical doctor, but she's a psychologist. And she did a PhD in the US, and she's from India. She's from Hyderabad. And she was talking about her children. And they're not young kids. They're in their late teens and going to college. And she was saying it's amazing. She was reflecting back when she went to college, and she's watching these kids going to college there. And she said, it's a huge dynamic shift in my thinking of how I should accommodate my children, how I should talk with them, because they're coming back with so much that I never even knew anything about.
Exactly.
And
Right.
it's mind-blowing, yeah? And she's been there for nearly 19 years now. It's not that she's new. Her kids were born in America. And so that's the shift. And so, when you say you're sitting here and you're interacting with kids in those countries, my God, the dimensions in which they come out with are so different.
Yes. Initially, it took some time, but we also learned our lessons as we kept progressing.
Right,
But it's
right.
it's nice to know that there's so much diversity in the whole world.
Yes. In fact, when I talk to a lot of people here in India, the one key thing they talk about is in the foreign countries, they aspire to that because of the diversity and the options that are available, as opposed to being very constrictive and restrictive here, so to speak. That's good. Now, if you had to look at, okay, I've got another 6 to 12 months to go through this pandemic, let's say, what are some one or two things that you will focus on?
Is to continue doing what I'm doing with the same enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
I see that initially it started with a lot of enthusiasm, me and my other friend, but slowly it's dropping out. So I think even maintaining that would be a little challenging. So I think that is something that I would look at for the next 6 to 12 months to continue the same enthusiasm that we had initially.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, have a thought about how to make the shift once the pandemic gets over. So how would we, accommodate all of this with the stuff that we used to do previously, offline classes?
Right.
So that's something that I need to sit and plan. And apart from that, I think children are the school, especially where I teach, they are really missing seeing each other. So they are looking forward for this pandemic to end, and they are like, when would we be able to see you physically? Because there are a lot of restrictions in some areas. Some things cannot be done online.
Yes.
Yeah, like if they want to even talk to you in person, it's
Right.
not possible. We're all on the same platform, so even that
Yeah.
is not possible. Yeah.
The kids are normally at the feel, touch, and interactive state, as opposed to the visual. Though they might be very au fait with the laptops and the iPads and everything. That reminds me, I was talking to one of my associates in Dubai, and this is going back 5 months ago. And he said, Dave, wait for a moment. And he took this mobile that he was talking with me, and he ran upstairs, and he said, I want to share my daughter with you, just to have a look at what she's doing. And as soon as he put the phone in front of her, she said, "Oh, Uncle David, I am teaching Dad to work on the iPad. I am teaching Dad the Zoom calls." She was so, how old she is? 7 years old.
Wow.
7 years old. See, that's the difference.
Right.
Kids are smart
Amazing.
these days.
I know, smarty pants, yeah. Manish, your side, two things that you come from there.
So one thing I would definitely continue do a little more is motivate the people who are motivate the clients or friends who are a little down in terms of the primary thought in everybody is business. How the finances are going to come from for tomorrow. Probably motivate them and give them a couple of options to explore. Because I remember just a travel agent friend of mine, my own travel agent. So I just gave him this option when in initial phases of March to start looking for an alternative. And he came up to me a couple of months back and told me, finally, I've started something what you advised me to do. So he's opened up another stream of income for it because travel is obviously taken a hit. So that's something I would love to do and continue motivating people or giving them options at least, not only to my clients but obviously friends and family as well. So
Right.
that's one thing, and also what you shared, how to how your transition should be post from pandemic to the normalcy again. So that's something we have to be prepared for as well, and psychologically also it helps because we are thinking in the right direction.
Yes. And I didn't want to drill down, but that's what it's in the book. When you think about it, whatever is in your frontal cortex constantly is what manifests.
Correct.
Okay, so unless unless we bring it down from the mushrooms buried right down there and bring it to the front to say, hey, listen, after post-pandemic, I got to do something. Only then will the manifestation path is much easier.
So when is
Great,
your book
guys.
coming up, David? I'm really looking forward to read.
I'm sorry, say that again.
When's your book coming out? I'm really looking forward to read.
It's in the hands of the gods. You're not the first person. In fact, even today, they were supposed to launch it last week. Okay. Now, apparently, the laptop that had my book went for a toss.
Oh.
Don't ask me. I don't know anything about this, but it went for a toss, so they had to redo the whole thing. So they worked all this weekend, and the publishing manager was saying, okay, it's just there, ready to go, but we need to cast our eyes again. So let him do the cast our eyes. Meantime, I will head off in my little cruising ship, back to where I'm supposed to go in this evacuation trip. And then once I'm there, probably after the 14th, I'll look at it. But I'm hoping it'll be before then. Let's see.
Right.
It's in the final stage. It's just a matter of, putting the jigsaw together and getting it out.
Okay.
But it's been a great journey, I mean, by the way, the second book is out. The second book is on its way out to the publishers by the end of the month.
Amazing. So I want to ask you one question. Like, you were planning to write a book, and then how did it suddenly happen? I've been planning to write one for the past so many years, but nothing looks good enough. Like, the moment I finish it, I'm like not happy with it.
I am not the person you should ask. If you ask all my associates, they will say I've been sitting on this book for 18 months after completing it.
Oh. So
This book was completed in September 2019.
Right.
And now we are in September 2018, I beg your pardon. And now we are in November 2020. So, but how did I shift to get the book done? I had a coach and a lot of friends who were writing books. And I've always wanted to pen down some thoughts of what I did with the coaching. As you know, a lot of the stuff was in my head.
Right.
And so, funny thing, I got to tell you the story. Funny thing, when I did that, it opened up a complete different dynamics. So I would sincerely recommend you put your thoughts together in a book, even if it's in half a page, half a paragraph. Just start with that.
Right.
Once the journey is towards the end, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be amazing, because that opened up a completely different dynamics for me to look at. And as I said, the manifestation law works. I was talking to a few people.
Mm-hmm.
The book is already done. What do I do now? I got to look for a publisher. And I was just putting out in posts, okay, Facebook. And you won't credit this. I had a publisher from Canada who rang me.
Okay.
The day I signed up with the Indian publisher, they rang me to see if they would take the book. And I said, no, I'd already signed up with this crowd. And then they asked the next question, are you writing another book? I said, the other book is 2/3 of the way there back then.
Right.
And so the question then followed, can we have a Zoom call with you?
Mm-hmm.
Which they continued to do. And then we set a time on a Monday for a 15-minute Zoom call. And that ended up becoming 1 hour and 3/4.
Okay.
But guess what happened out of that? They have now encouraged me to write my autobiography.
Wonderful.
Wow. That's amazing.
So we get references in that as well.
Don't change our names, David.
But I was surprised, because all I was talking to them with 1 hour and 3/4 was just talking about my journey through India. And there were anecdotes and stories of, how this happened and how that happened and how the clients came. And they said, my God, you've got a whole wealth of stories there. People want stories like that.
Yes.
I think
storytelling, ladies, storytelling is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Stories sell more.
Sorry?
And I feel
Stories sell more. People buy stories more than anything.
Yes. Manish is so true, because you know better than anybody else. You work with the subconscious mind, and it connects only with stories. It doesn't connect with facts.
Definitely.
And you don't have to come up with stories, I feel. I mean,
No.
your life is full of stories like people.
See, in every autobiography, what the reader searches is themselves. You know, I search for myself in that autobiography and it connects. That's why.
Exactly.
If I would have
That's,
read autobiographies, that is.
you see, Manish, you don't know the story. Varsha has asked me about this book. You know why? Because about 1.5 hours earlier, we had a little test section of this particular
Okay.
interview.
Okay.
And I said to her then, you know, Varsha, you're in that book, but I changed your name and everything. So now she wants to get the book.
I was actually going to ask her after the session, why did you mention that?
I'm sorry?
I was actually going to ask her, why did she state that line telling, don't change our names in the book? I wasn't able to relate to that. So.
I changed everyone's name. I didn't put anyone's name there.
So I can assume any name will be mine as well. Everybody can enjoy.
No, I left your name as Manish, okay?
That's unfair. But
I'm with you for that.
But on a serious note, the amount of work that you've done on me is unbelievable. You know, I'm still reaping the benefits, and I'm sure it will go with me.
I'm reaping the benefits as well. On a very factful note and a very serious note, she's more grateful to you than any person I've ever seen. So apart from her guru, but I think she's been more grateful to you than anyone else. So
Thank you.
I think that flight journey changed. I don't know about your life, but her life has definitely changed.
I'm just one out of that 1 million lives that you're going to change. I think you would have reached more than half of it.
See, it's a chain. It's a chain, David. I think you've created a nice chain because you're changing her. You changed her. Because of her, our life is much better. She's changing to children's life because they are going to be the future. So I think you have no idea of what the chain is that you've created.
Thank you. That was the intent. That was my mission, you see, and not so much for Varsha, but
should I tell the viewers that you didn't pay us to tell all this? It's the truth. It's the truth.
Because they think you're a chartered accountant and you're negotiating a price with me.
I'm stuck between two chartered accountants.
I know.
Oh dear me, yeah. Hey, it's been such a wonderful. I mean, I never knew I was interviewing you. It was just a talk, yeah. You know, it's been great. I really enjoyed it.
It ended up that we were interviewing you in the end.
Yeah, we don't want to miss any opportunity to learn anything that comes out of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, I really am grateful for the time you spent, in sharing your perspective that you've gone through, and in helping with my launch of the book also. We need to get in touch again more regularly. But once I land back into Australia, we'll connect and keep our Zoom calls going.
Yeah, you helped us learn how to go live in Instagram today, so that's a learning.
I know. But for
age
some
is just
reason,
a number. Today I realized.
technology and David Nair is a disconnect. Okay, very quickly, one quick word to the audience. Any messages for them, both of you?
No, I was just reflecting when I asked you, how did you, finally pen down your thoughts? Because I'm sure so many years of experience has gone in. But when you said that you actually took help, spoke to people, I realized that with you having so much of experience, when you don't have the inhibition of getting help from people, then I should not be giving a second thought about reaching out to people. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I have right now. That reach out doesn't matter, keep your inhibitions aside and reach out to people.
Yeah, that's one lesson my father taught me very early. And I remember another story. When he kicked me out of home at the age of 14 and a half, at the airport, he gave me a book. And the book was about 3.5-inch thick. 14-and-a-half-year-old kid was looking at the father and he's saying, "What's this?" And he said, "Read it." And I said, "What?" And I never knew anything about that book. I parked it in my bookshelf. I then went back about 6-7 months later and I picked it up and I couldn't understand anything. It was an autobiography of the world's largest shipping magnate called Aristotle Onassis. He's the guy that married Jacqueline Kennedy.
Okay.
Aristotle was interviewed, just like what you're doing now. He was interviewed. If you had your life all over again, what would you do different? And his response was so simple. He said, I would go and work in a restaurant as a waiter where successful people met. Now, I never understood that. I just underlined that. The follow-up of that was his message. He said, he asked the question of the writer, of the interviewer, why do you think I mentioned that? And the interviewer said, I don't know. He said, where successful people meet, whatever falls off their plate is pure gold, wisdom. Never ever let go of getting nuggets of wisdom from anybody, even a child. And from that day, I picked in my head to have an open mind to learn, to constantly keep improving. And that's why the can I and all the other principles come into it. It's in the book also. And the key element out of that I studied. In fact, my last coach, he's in India. He also got me into doing a lot of the current work that I'm doing. He made it a point. He said, you know, on stage, he said, David is one of the most teachable persons ever. And I'm not boasting that, because I had that ingrained because of that book. So the day, and at that time my father made this comment, the day you stop learning is the day you die.
Very true.
And so, Varsha, go out and open your mind with anyone. Make sure they're out there. Get your book out. Now, I'm going to put a pressure on you. We are in November 2020. Manish,
Yeah.
hear this. November 2020, I need you to give me a date for that book launch.
November 2021.
Good. Now, Manish, you can come on the screen now. Your first book reading completed by when?
After November 21.
No!
No way.
No way. When are you
I
going to
have
complete
so
it?
many books. I mean, all the books that you have referred with so much wisdom. So, David, give him a date. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. I just want one book, Manish. I don't care about the 20 or 30 books. One.
The day you come back to India, you will hear me say that I finished one book.
No, you won't know that date. I might be back next week.
You're taking me by surprise.
Yes.
Say March 22, March 21, rather.
21. Fantastic. I'm going to hold you to that. March 21. Before then, let's connect and we will talk again.
Done.
Guys, it's been a great privilege and honor to work with you and talk with you. I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, David. Thank you for
Have a
having
great
us.
weekend. What's left of
Looking
Sunday,
forward
huh?
to read your book, and I'm sure I'm going to gift it to a lot of people. It has changed my life. I'm sure it will make a lot of difference to others as well.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Take
Bye-bye
care.
now.
Have a great time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, David.